Hey guys, Mike the Vike here, back with yet another Rust update video. As always, before we get started, don't forget to leave a like on the video, that helps me quite a lot. The biggest change they made this week is they've done a complete revamp on the recoil system in the game. Previously in the game, when you did tap fire with any gun, it was using the same aim cone as if it were doing full auto. This meant that you weren't really rewarded if you were doing tap fire instead of just going full auto. So now, if you aim at a target, with any kind of rifle, it's pretty much a bullseye every single time. Obviously, I'm not the best shot here, but they've also made it so that there's less vertical recoil on all of the guns. So here's an AK standing up. There is still, of course, recoil, but it's nowhere near as bad as before. You'll notice that there's a bit of a recoil compensation, meaning as soon as I let go of the trigger, the recoil resets back to normal. So I'll show you this now. And as soon as I let go there, it goes right back down to here. In the past, your gun would stay aiming up here. I think this is very good, and I do like that change as well. The next thing they changed is they made it so that the aim cone on these guns increases the longer you hold down the trigger. So basically, instead of just making the recoil insane, they've just increased the aim cone the longer you hold down the trigger. I personally think this is a great thing. A lot of people are saying it's too easy now. I think that it does need a little bit of tweaking. The main thing to take away from this change is it's going to reward players that are tap firing and firing in short bursts, but if you just do full auto spray and pray, it's clearly not going to be accurate. A lot of people see the low recoil and think that, oh my god, that's overpowered. I would say no, not really, because they've added that aim cone thing so that it's not even accurate at all. I personally absolutely hated the old recoil system. I really stopped playing the game consistently long ago, specifically because of it. Another advantage to this new recoil system is it means that guns like the M92 can't just be spray and prayed like before, and you get decent results. With this new setup, you can see I did not hit that target every single time, whereas you would have before. And that I definitely support. I always thought that the pistols were kind of overpowered and that you could just spam them and they would always hit your target. Now, while they were looking at the gun recoil, they also made some changes to certain costs. The Thompson now costs 10 high quality metal less than before, and the pump shotty costs 5 high qual less as well. So that's nice. The next thing they changed is kind of random. It has to do with the recoil. Basically, they always called it an aim cone, whereas it more was like an aim square. And you'll see the difference here. So they've now made it a proper cone, so it's a circle. Anyway, this means that guns are probably going to feel a lot more accurate, or at least 20% more accurate. Next up, they've added the drop box to the game. It costs 200 metal frags. What this thing does is pretty straightforward. Number one, if you've got, for example, somebody slaving for you, and you don't want them to get into your base, but you want them to drop off materials, they could just do so from here. So let's say you got a guy who's farming for you, he drops off some free loot, you click submit. Now, the loot is accessible on the inside of the base, so you can't get it here anymore. So if we go inside, you're going to see, voila, it's here now. But this is also just kind of convenient if you maybe looted a couple barrels and you don't want to go all the way back up to your loot room. You can just quickly and easily toss it into this little box and you're good to go. You can go back to roaming. Now, you're not able to put a code lock on the back, which means you're going to have to secure it with doors and stuff. I personally think you should be able to put a code lock on it. I don't see what's wrong with that. They've also made a few changes to the world. You can now harvest the dead logs and stuff and trees on the ground. You'll be able to get a decent amount of wood from those. They've also made it so you can now harvest pretty much any cacti you see in the desert biome, no longer just the big tall guys. Next up, they've made some changes to how the moon works. Now the moon is dynamic. Some nights are going to be bright, like this one, since it's a full moon, it's fairly bright, and other nights may be pretty darn dark. Now I really like this because it means that if you have the moon set correctly, you're actually going to be able to see a fair bit at nighttime. They've also went ahead and redone all of the road signs you see around the map. They definitely look a heck of a lot nicer than the old ones. The last guys were super low resolution. On the smaller side of things, they've now made it so that the rocket launcher can shoot about 50 rockets before breaking, whereas before it was about 20 rockets and it broke, so that's kind of nice. Any ores you find in the desert biome will now have a bit of dustiness on the bottom of them. It's great because now the rocks kind of look part of the environment, which is good. Now some of you guys might be familiar with Happus Island, but I don't really know that many people that actually played on it. And the devs kind of realized that, and they decided to do a bit of an overhaul on Happus Island. So I mean, you're looking at it right now. You'll notice there's a lot more dense forest areas. A lot of the terrain is less flat than it used to be. And I don't know, previous Happus was just kind of boring, and it was just like, why would I play that when I can play procedural, right? It wasn't different enough. All of the new assets for the monuments and stuff are now going to be on actual Happus. They've also added caves to Happus now. Now these are different caves than the ones you'll find on procedural, so they're definitely worth checking out. This one is pretty small, but you get to build a base if you get to the bottom, albeit a really, really small base, but that's cool. And there's also a new updated waterfall. It looks amazing. With that said, the shaders are kind of freaking out right now. I don't know what's going on. It's super duper bright. It's like chrome, but the idea is there and it looks really, really cool. I think that's just kind of gorgeous. Now here's a look at one of the rad towns they've added to the area. This one's in the desert biome. Here's a look at another one here. You can see they're using the tunnel from the military tunnels. And yeah, it's just a unique little town to explore. And here's a look at another one. Once again, just using old assets to make new things. You can see we can go ahead and explore. This is similar, once again, to other places. Now on the old map, if you made it to the winter biome, once you got to the top, you got to a unique rad town with better loot. And that still is there, but they've kind of revamped it. You can see this one is like a military base of some sort. We got the trucks there. We've got a little system here. It actually goes down. They took one of their tower assets, but put it downwards, which is kind of cool. Now you see Laboratory B. You follow this tunnel and things get very, very, very interesting really quick. And I love this. I really wish we saw more environments like this throughout Rust, like kind of like a more creepy, like I don't know, there's some kind of like sci-fi vibes here. I love the lighting though. Gorgeous, gorgeous lighting. The issue with Rust right now, I don't know if they fixed this, but it's never ever worth going to these locations. You know, I always feel bad about that. They build these cool areas, but very few people go to them because it's the same loot you'd find anywhere else. Like if any of you guys played DayZ Namalsk, like DayZ mod, good times by the way, you know how you had to get to that certain tunnel to get the Gauss rifle? So if they could make that tunnel the same thing, where there's like a super high-end gun, maybe find M249s, I don't know. Just something to make it worth traveling down there. Here's a look at another one of the unique areas. Once again, you got the mine carts, you go inside, you got the really cool mining tunnels. It's just another interesting, unique area, and it has its own unique vibe compared to everywhere else. Anyway, you know what? I think you get the idea. They've just revamped the map if you want to check it out. I think Rustified has a server, probably a few others. Give it a shot. And unfortunately, we did not get the Rocket Factory or launch site monuments. Kind of sad, but it's okay. But it sounds like they said that they'll be ready to go for the July forced wipe, which is obviously a long ways away, but I guess, you know, if they want to launch it when it's nice and polished and ready to go, and that's fine with me as long as it'll be nice. They're also continuing work on the new hand view models, so you can see that they definitely look a lot more higher resolution. Now, of course, at this point, it'd be great if we could actually see in first person when our character has like a jacket or a different type of t-shirt on. That would be probably the best thing ever. But that's going to be everything for this week's Rust update. I think it's a really, really good change. I'm a little bit sad that we didn't get the rocket site monument, but whatever, I'd rather have a quality product than a rushed one. As always, if you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe. I've got the update videos and everything else very, very often. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.